Hello everybody, Dr. Patrick Flynn here, the Hormone Whisperer. Welcome to our Wellness Way Quick Tip and to our new series called Secrets Revealed. What we're going to do now is we're going to go over some healthcare secrets that we believe that you have not heard before. And so our first secret revealed today is about estrogen. And I'm going to cover my top 4 things that I think you need to know about it. Number 1, very simple. Estrogen is not a hormone. It's really funny because what I'll do is I'll ask women all the time, I'll say, is hormonal estrogen? If you believe so, raise your hand. And they do, and I said, that's why you're sick. Because you don't understand that one of the most important things that you have in your body is estrogen, but it's not a hormone. Estrogen is very simple this. It's a term of multiple hormones that are all very chemically similar. Okay, so remember that. Estrogen is nothing more than a term of chemically similar hormones. And if you really realize that, for example, there's so many of them that can be measured, and there's multiple ones. That's the key. Estrogen, number 1, is not a hormone. It's a name, a term for clinically similar hormones. They may be clinically similar, but they have very different properties. Let me say that again. They may be clinically similar, but they have very different properties. So secret number 1, just remember, if a doctor tells you that estrogen is a hormone, he doesn't really understand what he's talking about because number 1, it's not. It's a term. When you ever look at a lab, if they've ever tested you for estrogen, okay, you're going to find out the major one that they do test is estradiol, which is one of them, okay? It's just one hormone. It's actually the one that they can manipulate the most by medication. So just understand that when you approach your doctor and say, Doc, I want to get my hormones tested, you have to understand there's multiple estrogens, okay? They're all very clinically similar, but they're not the same, okay? That's secret number 1. Number 2, estrogen does not cause cancer. And I said, hold the phone, Doc. My grandmother had breast cancer. And what they did is, it's a standard practice that when you actually have breast cancer, they'll actually see if it's estrogen positive. And what they'll do is then they'll put you on a medication for clinically right now 5 years minimal. Now they're actually talking about putting it on for at least almost a lifetime that way. And it's an aromatase inhibiting drug. What does that mean? What they really do is, for example, it's non-selective and it inhibits the production and conversion of all of the estrogens. Okay? And you say, well, Doc, but you just said that estrogens don't cause cancer. The reason why I want to bring that up is this. The medication that they use isn't selective on estrogens. It actually inhibits the production of all of them. And for example, one of those estrogens is actually called 2-hydroxyestrone. No joke. It's actually known as anti-carcinogenic. That means, for example, it protects you against cancer. Now think about that. So their misnomer of the understanding of estrogen that way, they demonize it. They've actually demonized, think about this, ladies. They demonize the hormone that makes you who you are. When you go from a young lady to puberty and hit puberty and change, guess what happens? Your genetic code does not change. What does change is the hormone levels, and majority of that is your estrogens, okay? And some of them, if they do get out of control, can cause a high metastasizing, splitting production of cells. And yes, does that develop a tumor or breast cancer? Yes. But there's also estrogens that are protective, okay? Actually, it's cancer preventative that way. So as they demonize, you see all the pink ribbons out there, and you read about how bad estrogen is, and you got to knock it down, you got to understand that's a very bad thinking to get in there. So the secret number 2 is, guess what? Estrogen, for example, certain ones are actually anti-carcinogenic that way, which actually protect you against cancer, okay? Very important because if you have been a person that suffered from breast cancer, and it was estrogen sensitive that way, the key thing is this, getting the proper estrogen measured so you know if it's elevated, because if it's elevated, it can be a bad day for you, and what I mean by that is it can develop into cancer that way, okay? Secret number 3, actually your estrogens are tested multiple ways. I will tell you right now, if the only way you've actually had your hormones tested was by your blood, you have a very incomplete picture of what your hormones are. There is no way, let me say this again, and remember this, play this video to your doctor, play this to your OB, play this to every person that you know that says that we're going to draw your blood and we're going to do your hormones. It's virtually impossible, okay? The major one that they are looking for, once again, is that estradiol that way, okay? So what you got to understand is they can pull that by blood. But guess what? Hormones can be measured by blood, saliva, and urine. Actually, the funny part is this. Honestly, if you haven't actually had a urine test done, you actually minimize your full picture of actually your hormones, because there's certain hormones that you can only get from the urine, okay? You can get estradiol from the blood. You can get estradiol from the saliva. You can get estradiol from actually, your urine. But there's certain ones that you can only get from urine, okay? So that's why I said if you haven't had a urine test done, actually to check the hormones. Now, if you're actually going to a very good doctor that understands hormones, they will actually may do 1, 2, or all 3 of them, okay? Most good clinical doctors will do multiple tests that way because they're looking for the multiple aspect hormones. Let me say this again. You cannot get all the estrogens from just one test, because even if you do the urine, guess what happens? Oh, guess what happens? You cannot get progesterone in urine. It has to be either by the blood or saliva. So this is important because most of the doctors out there have no clue how to test them. Secret number 4, top 4. Estrogens can be produced and actually converted within the fat tissue. Ladies, let me tell you why this is so key. See, when you look at hormone production, there's 3 major systems that actually do it. Your ovaries, your adrenals, and actually your adipose tissue, your fat tissue. I pulled out some great research for you to see this, okay? And on top of it, that's why if you look at most aromatase inhibiting medications from cancer people that have gotten breast cancer, what happens is the medication doesn't really affect the ovaries, doesn't affect the adrenals. It goes after the conversion and the production within the fat tissue. So I tell people, if you want to change your estrogen levels because of breast cancer, guess what happens? Start losing fat. Start dropping the estrogen by actually removing and working out and doing things you need to do for actually to reduce that, okay? Then you reduce the estrogen load that could be producing that one hormone that actually is going to actually trigger some of the breast cancer that way. So what I want you to think about is this. On the flip side, if you are hormonally deficient, so let's say, ladies, you've exhausted your body terribly, which happens on a regular basis that way. If you've exhausted your hormones and they go too low, your body says this, hey, guess what? I need to produce hormone. So what I'm now going to do is this. I'm going to produce fat tissue so now we can convert and make more hormone. So ladies, if you eat good and you exercise and you notice that you gain weight, guess what happens? You're already starting to run into that problem of your hormones getting low. Second of all, ladies that convert from being cyclic to menopausal, if you go through that transition and your hormones drop too low, you don't have to change anything in your lifestyle whatsoever. And women come in, they say, Doc, I haven't changed my exercise routine. I haven't changed my food routine. I do everything perfect. And all I did is transform into menopause that way. And guess what happened? I'm gaining weight and I don't know why. Well, you're gaining weight because your body is trying to protect itself and keep some hormone there. And the ovaries and adrenals cannot keep up. So guess what? The body says, I know how to do it. I know how to do it. I'm going to produce fat. So, top 4, remember. Number 1, estrogen is not a hormone. It does not cause cancer. It has to be tested multiple ways to really know it. And number 4, it's produced by fat tissue. These are key things, just some quick tips for you to understand the major hormone women that dictates your life. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn. This is your Wellness Way quick tip and our first of our Secrets Revealed series. Have a beautiful day.